So tell us about something that's out there and interesting.
Okay, Flux Gourmet, which is the new film by Peter Strickland, who you and I interviewed for his short film Cold Meridian recently.
We did.
So he made Barbarian Sound Studio, starring Toby Jones, Duke of Burgundy, in Fabric, which I loved. This stars Fatma Mohammed, who is a regular in Strickland's film, as the front woman of a culinary performance collective. And no, I hadn't heard of it either. They have a residency at the Sonic Catering Institute,
right,
as you were, in which is a temple of culinary performance, where they're going to workshop their latest project, whilst being recorded by a dossier character called Stones.
What?
A dossier, somebody who I believe writes basically he's there to just write down what happens. Okay. He's a writer, but that's what he does. Who is suffering with intestinal pain and flatulence. Meanwhile, there is a rival culinary performance group, the Mangrove Snacks, who get in the way of after-dinner speeches by, and I'm not making this up, throwing a terrapin through the window. Really, here's a clip.
What happened?
The Mangrove Snacks.
Who are the Mangrove Snacks?
They applied for the residency. They didn't get it.
And this is how they respond?
Happens all the time, this kind of thing. For every culinary collective I offer a residency to, a dozen others give me hell for rejecting them. I have a whole folder filled with poison pen letters.
I'm sorry.
I'm used to it, sadly.
Why did you reject them?
I don't like what they do to terrapins.
So you only chose me because I'm vegetarian?
I'm not going to get drawn on my selection process. All I will say is it involves a huge amount of thought and responsibility. I'll ignore your facile comments, since we welcome carnivores as much as herbivores. Ultimately, I'd consider the Mangrove Snacks if they actually had any talent. Only for your exclusive information, they can't even do transgression very well.
Now, look, I know that Peter Strickland's films aren't for everybody. They are definitely for me. He said that he was originally inspired by the tension between art groups who take sponsorship and then don't want any input from the sponsorship, you know. And in this, what happens is that Gwendolyn Christie's character wants to be involved in the creative process. She says, "You can keep the Epicurean toxicity, but indulge me on the flanger, please," which is one of my favourite lines. And the film is really strange and engaging and weird and bizarre and surrealist in a kind of fine. But the reason it works is because beneath all that strangeness and ritualized oddness, it's engaging, like you kind of believe in the characters. And it's interesting that Strickland, he cites his influences as being Bresson, Marcel Marceau for the mime, and the Viennese actionist. No, I had to look him up as well.
Viennese actionist.
Yes, a short-lived art movement of the 20th century from the 60s and 70s.
Thank you.
Alongside This Is Spinal Tap, because they're all interviewed about the art that they're doing. And here's the key thing with Spinal Tap. Even when it's ridiculous, and Nigel Tufnell is talking about this goes up to 11 and complaining about the folding food, and then you get, I want small bread.
Yeah.
Or I don't want small bread. You still believe that Spinal Tap are actually a band. And the genius of what Strickland does is, in the middle of all this, you do actually oddly believe in the characters, even when the situations are out the window of absurd. A colleague of mine described this as Peter Strickland's funniest film. And yes, there is much in it that is hilarious, but it's also got this kind of underlying sadness and this weird kind of incantatory, Kenneth Anger, those sort of short films.
What does that mean?
Kenneth Anger made short films that were like spells. They were like, literally watching them was like an incantation.
Okay.
In the same way that all that weird stuff about washing machines in Fabric becomes incantatory, it does here as well. So it's engaging, it's odd, it's bizarre and strange and extreme, but it's also oddly moving. And that's the genius with Strickland, is somehow he manages to weld those two things together. Don't know how he does it, but only he does it.
Is this at the cinema?
It is in the cinema. That was a great video, wasn't it?
I couldn't take my eyes off it.
No, neither could they.
Do they know, do you think, that they can keep up to date with all things Kermode and Mayo's take by following us on our socials? Because they're all here below.
Well, they definitely know it now.
That's true.